Hi, welcome to Basic Math. Today we're looking at your basic percent problems. So we're going to save the story problems with percents, which are super fun, for another video. We're just going to look at the basics here. So there are two methods for solving percent problems, and we're going to look at both of them here. But before we get into either of the methods, I want to kind of pick apart one of these problems and help us to start identifying the pieces that we're going to need as we try to set these up. So here's an example. It says, what number is 30% of 800? All right, so here we go. We are looking for three pieces when we try to set up these problems. And so I haven't set up the problem yet, and we'll see that on the next board. But the first piece that we're looking for is what's called either the whole or the base. So this is the number that something is out of, or if you're doing like a sales tax problem, it would be the total that you paid before the tax. But anyway, what we're looking for is the word of. And so in this particular problem, what number is 30% of 800? The number that follows the of, 800, is going to be our whole or our base. Okay, because it's basically what number is 30%, which is 30 out of 100 for 800. Anyway, so if you find the of, you get that whole or base number automatically. Okay, just all set. Next up, we need the percent. That's the easiest one of the bunch because you're going to look for either a percent sign, in this case right there, or the word percent. Either one could show up. So our percent here is 30%. And then the last piece is what's called the part or the amount. This is going to be, if you took a test, this would be how many points you got out of the total points on the test. So the part/amount is whatever the remaining piece is. So we identify the whole and the percent first, and whatever is left is going to be the part. In this case, the only thing that's left is the question itself, the what number. And so that is what I turned into an X here. Okay, you can use whatever letter you want, but the part here is the piece that we don't know. And that's what we will be trying to find on the next board as I get into showing you how to do these problems. So anyway, we're going to be looking for those three pieces, and we're going to use that to set up these problems, and we're going to do it in two different ways, and we'll see that coming up. So let's get a new board. Okay, so our first method to solve these, option one, is to use proportions. So we know that percent means out of 100, so we're going to take advantage of that to set up a proportion. So here's what we have. The part over the whole, remember those pieces that we just talked about, is always equal to the percent over 100. So for the problem I had on the board before, this one, what number is 30% of 800? Remember, the what number was our part, the 30% is the percent, and the 800 was the whole or the base. So here's my proportion. Since the what number is the unknown, and that was our part, I put that on top. The whole, the 800, goes on the bottom. And then I take my 30%, put 30 over 100. That's a proportion. I cross multiply. X times 100 is 100x. Here you can see I have 30 times 800, which ends up being 24,000. Just divide both sides by 100. So this is basic solving. We're just solving proportion at this point, and we end up with 240. If you need a review of solving proportions, go back and watch my video on proportions. But that's basically how this works. You just find the piece that's missing, put the X there, fill in the other numbers, and then solve your proportion. So I'm going to do one more example of that on the next board, and then we'll get to method two. All right, so next example. 40 is what percent of 320? Now you can see I labeled the problem a little bit. Of is in front of 320, so 320 is going to be my whole. 40, or the percent is missing, right? I have what percent, so that's going to be my unknown. I'm going to make that my X. And that leaves 40 to be the part, or the amount. So again, I'm going to set it up. The part goes over the whole, or the amount over the base, however you want to think about it. So we have 40 over 320. And then on the other side, the percent over 100. We don't know the percent, so that's going to be X. So we're just going to do the same thing here. We're going to cross multiply. If we do that, we get 320x is equal to 4,000. We divide both sides by 320, and a calculator would probably come in very handy right here. And I should have done this before, that would have been smart. But here we go, 4,000 divided by 320, and you get 12.5. And there you go, that's our percent, 12.5%. And we're done with it. All right, so there is one other method, and we're going to take a look at that next. So hang on, we'll get to it. Okay, so option 2, the equation method. The equation method, we just set up a little tiny equation that works by percent times the whole is equal to the part. So again, just like before, we need those 3 pieces. Notice there's no extra 100 this time because we're not making a proportion. We need the 3 pieces, but this time it's important that the percent has to be changed to a decimal. If you don't change it to a decimal, this is not going to work. And also, that means if you are trying to find a percent, it's going to end up as a decimal and you'll have to change it back. So we'll look at one of those here in a minute. So anyway, I brought back that first example that we had. What number is 30% of 800? So we know that of tells us the 800 is the whole, so I fill that piece in. The percent is 30%. Notice I changed it to a decimal, so I took my decimal point, which is right there, slid it 2 places to the left to get 0.30. And then this time, the x, the part, is the thing we don't know, so it's all nicely all by itself. All we have to do is multiply those 2 numbers together to get 240. And that's it. That one's done. Let's do one more. Okay, so my last example in this section, another one that we're going to set up with an equation, is 3 is what percent of 60? So this time, we're missing the percent, so I put an x in there where the percent goes. 60 is the whole, so I put that next to the x, and 3 is then has to be the part, so I put that on the other side. To solve this, we've done this before, we're just going to solve by dividing. Notice that we end up with 3 divided by 60, which gives us 0.05, and that's okay. That's a nice little decimal. And that's almost our answer, but it's not as a percent. So we have to take our decimal and move it 2 places to the right to change our decimal into a percent. And then we're done. So just be careful with these. Take the time to set them up. A lot of times the problem people have with percent problems is that they don't bother to take the time to actually set up the problem. They just go, oh, I just need to divide these 2 numbers, or oh, I just need to multiply these 2 numbers. And then they think that that it's right, but they're not taking the time to put the pieces in the right places and to see what it is that they actually need to be doing. So please be careful. Take your time, and good luck.